Hi, I'm Marissa DeVito. I'm head of music marketing and curation at Soundcloud, and I'm stoked to be on the podcast. Totally, and that's the thing, that if you do really lean into it, you will reap the benefits. And that's to go back to the FanPowered Royalties thing. It's interesting because
if you don't mind, just go back and just like explain exactly what that is, because I'm sure a lot of listeners are like, wait a minute, the average fan doesn't necessarily know how artists get paid from streaming.
Well, that's what's been very interesting, is that FanPowered Royalties it's the way that a lot of people think artists get paid already, and it's not. It's been a very interesting project for us in doing the research and the reality of how people consume music and what they think it is, and how streaming services work and how it actually works, right? So like, I'm actually pulling up my notes because I don't want to get this wrong. It is complicated to explain, and I want to make sure that I do it proper justice. So give me 1 second. Because Katie, our PR person, is like, here's the actual good explanation, because it's definitely one of those things that I understand, but it's hard to explain. Anyway,
but I think that's important too. Like, I think we're at a unique point in time, right? Like, you understand the
totally
concept of that, but then to explain it's hard, because you're like, it should be this way, but it's not, and no one really knows it. And so I really need to like read it so so that, because like that's what you're doing. You're helping to translate and educate,
exactly.
Like, hey, this is some shit that like could actually help you out.
Right. And actually, I will say our creator hub, which is, I think, just creators.soundcloud.com, actually explains it very well with a bunch of nice little gifs and money, like number examples. But so under FanPowered Royalties, SoundCloud pays royalties based on the portion of a fan's time they're listening to every artist. So it's how much the fan listens to that artist relative to all their listening time, as well as ads they've consumed if they're not a subscriber. So, and that makes sense, right? Like, if I listen to a bunch of Billie Eilish should get the lion's share of the money that is earned from my consumption. That's not how it actually works on other streaming services. It's the pro rata, not to get really technical, but it's like the pro rata share basically of all the money from ads, and as well as subscriptions gets tossed into a bucket and then gets broken out by market share, and then the artist gets paid based on whatever deal they have with the label. So it's real complicated. So we really wanted to be, because we are an artist driven platform, which so are other people, but like we like to tout it. It's a more equitable and transparent way, especially for emerging and independent artists, to earn money. And it really ends up leveling the playing field. And again, it's about what you put into it. If you really are trying to grow your career and are going to put all of your effort in, put all your eggs in one basket, put them in a SoundCloud basket, because you will earn, instead of you should have your music all over the place as an emerging artist, so everyone can find you. But if you really put your efforts towards SoundCloud and using all the DIY marketing tools that we offer, then you will see the benefit from FPR, because it is direct, and your really, really dedicated fans will earn your royalties.
Right. And then not only that, you'll be able to see who they are, again, building a strong connection.
And then the cycle, exactly. So then the cycle continues, and then you're really, because I know there's a lot of talk a lot of times around social media about, you can have 1 million followers, but if they're not engaged, who cares? It doesn't matter.
Yep.
Right. So
go ahead. Sorry.
No, just that, like, even though you may have, it's better to have 100 super fans than 500 fans, right?
Yeah, exactly, because those 100 are really gonna, go to bat for you. They're gonna be the evangelists, you know. I always botch that word, but they're gonna be the loyalists, right?
Evangelists.
Yeah,
Yeah.
evangelists.
Yeah.
It was funny. I had a college roommate who had a name similar to that, so I always botch it. But
But they're your champions, and you
they really
can
are.
grow from that.
Right, and not only that, over a long period of time, it's much easier to get an existing. When you get into business speak, right, it's much easier to get an existing customer to pay you again than it is to acquire a new customer.
Totally.
Right? Cheaper.
Retention is easier than acquisition.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so that's really what you want to do. It's about going deep. Now, I think a common misnomer too is that because things are so readily available because of technology, that people think that this is easy to do. Like your parents are like, oh, don't you just put your music up on SoundCloud or YouTube and then you just like get famous? It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. So the reason I say that is to say, this is simple. We are trying to simplify it. SoundCloud is trying to simplify the process, but it's still hard work. It doesn't mean just because they have all the tools, and I don't think enough technology companies talk about this. It's just that, hey, they just want it to be, oh, easy, come on here and you can do all the shit, because they want the barrier to be so low. It's like, guys, everything's low. We need to talk about doing the actual work. Like, your shit's gonna suck for 6 months or a year. Your shit's gonna suck for 2 years. You have to keep at it. If you do in fact get lucky and you go viral with something, that's great. You can't bank on that. What you need to do is spend the time going very deep, just like you're talking about, on whatever platform.
Totally.
Right? Because that's where you're going to see the value.
And even if you do get lucky, it's so quick these days that you got to keep the momentum going.
Exactly.
Right.
Right. And not only that, you got to have the next thing ready to go. So it's almost better to not pop super fast, right? It's better to kind of learn who you are as an artist, learn who your fans are, how you want to talk to them, your artwork, your video stuff. You want to get the people around you on your team to build that out, but you know that you have that level of support with the DSP like you guys, where it's like, cool, here's the framework for how you can build these out. You have to go and do the work and build up some team members too. But then you come back and you start to put fuel to the fire, like, we can help you go. And I say that to say, or I say that because I think a lot of artists are like, still, even today, they're like, oh, I get signed and then somebody else handles all the work.
Lean back. Yeah, you can't do it.
And you just can't, because you're putting your life in someone else's hands when, like, you don't have to. You got to do the work. And I think doing DIY from the beginning trains you to learn all the things that are necessary. So if you do want to partner with a major label and you do want to go that big, it's okay too, but you know everybody's role and you know how to pick a good label in a good situation.
And a good deal. Yeah. Well, and you can't stop the hustle either. You really got to, content is king or queen, and engagement. You got to, like you were saying, you can't just like drop it and walk away. You got to be consistent with your content, and you have to remain engaged with it and keep promoting it in different ways.
Right. I think, I forget where I was just reading the article. I forget who wrote it, but just talking about the difference, 40 years ago when your dad was working, it was about creating this one great piece of art, because it took that long to get all this shit revved up. Like, you had to make the song, but then literally you had to ship it to these plants, and it took weeks and months to get all this stuff together, to get all these components together. Technology has made it so fast and instant. We can record this and upload it right now. You know what I mean? And be done with it.
I mean, we have mobile upload. You can literally record something on your phone and upload it.
Exactly. And so I think artists today, like, I had this conversation with an artist that I worked with in the past. He's like, still trying to be, the mysterious guy, and that's kind of important to this artist. And it was like, cool. But that was 10 years ago, when that was the end of it, really, when The Weeknd was kind of the last big superstar to remain, mysterious, right? He came out in 2010, 11, 12, and he was like, who is this guy? What's he about? And you could have that. But now in kind of internet and web 3.0, 2.0, whatever you want to call it, shit is changing and the industry has changed. Now you have to make content. Like that is,
Yeah.
you can bitch about that all you want, but that is where it's at. And if you do want to remain relevant, like this is the game. You don't have to play it if you don't want to, what I mean?
Yeah.
But this is it. And I know I'm going off on a rant, but I was just talking to a couple people about this recently, and it's just getting me hot. And again, what you guys do, I think, is so important. But the final thing I'll say on it too is that you can still go away, and I think it's important to take that time to get away, to be inspired again as an artist.
Sure.
Help all that. I'm not saying don't do that. But I am saying come to the table fucking prepared to work, because this is work.
Yeah.
And come prepared to really map this out, to say, hey, if this is your cool idea, right, and you want to do 12 songs and you want it to be a theme, well, you need to do something like fucking Childish Gambino did with Because of the Internet when it was too early. You need to write a fucking screenplay. You need to make all these videos. You need to do all these interviews in the same way. So you're still creating you're still working on this one project, but just like you were talking about a minute ago, you're creating so many different ways to experience this project, and that's the name of the game today. So yes, you can have a concept album, but have all of these different spokes, if this is a wheel, that are like all these cool different things, so you're creating more content, and it doesn't feel forced for you. It's not like it's just another extension of the project.
You also can't just drop it and assume people are going to get it.
Right, exactly. And then go away. And then, hey, go away for a year, but give us a year of content. Or map out, hey, I want to spend a year creating a bunch of content that's going to last me 2 years. This is how I want it to roll out. So now you're spending a bunch of time, you're front loading all your work, then you release it, then you can go back and relax and become inspired again. Because I don't think a lot of people understand how to do that, because they've made it so readily available that you're just I need to make this right now. And that's a problem. You need to become a production.
And I think what a lot of people don't realize is how many things that seem very spur of the moment, especially for bigger artists, are like meticulously planned.
Yep.
Even just, engagements on Twitter, or video drops or GIFs or whatever are usually planned pretty far out and is part of a larger content rollout.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, you just have to, because if you're going to spend that amount of money creating, you got to know how you at least have a hypothesis about how you want it to play out, right? Because we all make shit, we put it out, we hope it's going to do one thing, and a lot of times it does something completely different, right? So you have to kind of prepare for that, and it takes planning, and that's what a lot of people don't have. To be fair, it is tough when you're starting out, because you don't have that experience, you don't have that team that you can lean on, you have to do all these things. But again, here, what I'm trying to show up and coming artists is plan as much as you can. You should be dropping shit all the time, but you also need to plan, hey, if I'm going to go in the studio, let me create 10 fucking TikTok videos one time, put it out throughout the entire month or 2 weeks, so I don't have to fucking do this all the time, because sometimes you're not inspired to do it when you need to post it.
Right.
The problem.
No, you're totally right.
So one of the other things that I wanted to talk about too was you guys are just like a lot of the other DSPs. You talked about it a little bit ago, in the curation process, right?
Sure.
So what is the best way for an up and coming artist to engage with some of the playlist, curators? Can you talk about, how the artist relations, label relations work with, kind of artists of all sides? Like, obviously you guys have your own dedicated people for Def Jam and Warner, and they kind of manage those artists. How do the independent artists get a curator's attention? What's the best way to go about doing that?
So a lot of it,
people aren't spamming people and blatant disrespectful emails.
Sure. Thanks for that. So a lot of it really is doing a lot of the things that we were just discussing. A lot of it is that DIY marketing and that hustle, right? Because we're always looking at our own charts. We have the new and hot charts, which are different from the top charts, which take into account velocity more than just, Lil Peep, that was a terrible example. Juice WRLD, also whatever. just shoots to the top of our charts anything something is released, right? Millions of streams, great.
Yeah.
New and hot doesn't work that way. It works, and I won't get into the intricacies of how it works because it's a secret, but basically if your track is tagged properly and it has some good velocity on it and some steam, it could get on the new and hot chart. And we are looking at these every day, especially our artist relations team, to see what's, not to be cheesy, what's new and hot and what's trending on SoundCloud. And there's a general new and hot chart, but there's also a genre chart. So I cannot emphasize it enough. Artists need to make sure that they are putting proper hashtags on their tracks so they have the chance to appear on these charts. If it is not tagged properly, it won't get there. And you know, and we're looking at things on TikTok, and we're looking at things generally on the internet, and seeing that's how we are finding these unknown artists. And you know, we bought Repost almost 2 years ago, and they are a big distribution platform that you can sign up for. So that's another way. We're also looking at Repost artists a lot, and helping those artists grow, especially because Repost is in-house. You know, we do also have a couple of programs like Link and Build, which is a Twitch show every week that run by Roger from Mascarilla, who is going through the crates, and all you need to do is tag your track Link and Build, and you hopefully we'll get featured. But also, you know, we're looking at quality of music, but we're also looking at numbers, and seeing what's going on, but also seeing how engaged artists are on SoundCloud. If you just drop something, not only unlikely to see it because you just dropped something, but if we're seeing that you are engaged with your fans and that you are reposting, and you're posting on Twitter, and you're posting on Instagram stories, and like this thing is all over the place, and there's good feedback from fans, those are things that we like to see.
Yeah. I think I always think back to a couple of years ago when Kanye was going through like his rant. Well, rants at that time.
That one, yeah.
And you know, he was on Twitter asking Mark Zuckerberg for money. It was like,
of course,
bro, come on, man. Like, we all love Kanye for his creative musical talents. Everything else is, you know, left.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, Kanye, let's be real, if you really wanted some money from somebody who works at Facebook, you probably should have been doing that on Facebook. And I think the same kind of rules apply, right? It's like,
sure,
if you want to be popping on SoundCloud, you can't send them a fucking Spotify link. You know what I mean? To be like, hey, dude, I'm popping over here. Like,
I get a lot of cold emails where that happens, and I'm like, please don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, what do you?
Step one, you gotta have something moving, you know, on the platform that you're asking help from.
Yeah. Well, and the music needs to be good. I mean, that's right. Number one. Exactly. Like that's what we're looking at. And you know, it's also engaging with the playlists and understanding the playlists, because we do have a lot of playlists, and making sure that as an artist you're educated on which playlists you're appropriate to be on.
Yeah.
Right.
That's, oh man, so many times you just hear people like, oh, I want to be on the biggest one. It's like, well, you have to understand who's on the biggest playlist, right?
Everyone wants to be on Rap Caviar, right? On Spotify, and like, sure you do. Like, people get successful from there, but is it appropriate for your pop track to be on there?
Well, but
your bedroom,
right? But not only that, I also think about like the level that you're at in your career. Go and look at that playlist. That is all the A-list people. You're not A-list. Right.
You're gonna get lost in there. You got to build it up.
You're gonna get lost. And where's the story to tell? There's no story.
Where do you go from there?
Exactly. You're like, oh shit. Right. If it doesn't work there, you shoot your shot and it doesn't work, then you're fucked. You know, it's better. You're better, you know, trying to approach those smaller playlists to build up some numbers and some credibility, so that you can keep kind of leveraging 1,000%. That, continuing to build onto the story. This is a process. There's no hack to get done. The hack is doing the work on the platform and really engaging with it. That's how you do that. And then just by being there, you get lucky and you start to learn who the people are. And I think that's another component too that I also like to throw out there. Like if you want to know who the curators are, it's about doing the research, engaging with the platforms, engaging with them on Twitter or on Facebook or on Reddit AMAs, or just being in the industry, learning about the news and paying attention to the outlets and finding the Marissa DeVitos, right? Listening to this podcast and be like, oh shit, Marissa's over there. Now
Right.
let me follow her. And when she talks to other people, that's how you start to build up your network of who the people are. And then when you know time's right and you are killing it on the platform, that's when you can reach out, because it's about making it easy for the people to say yes.
Yes, that's a really, really, really good point. It's right. You make it easy for the people that are holding the strings to say yes. And like, I've done all of these things. I've used the tools that have been set out. And actually, one thing that I forgot to mention in the DIY, we actually launched, it's called Promote on SoundCloud, where you can actually buy promoted tracks legally on SoundCloud. And I know, because I know there's a billion and one, get plays on SoundCloud and 1,000 plays for $1, and like, not cool. Don't do it. Violates our terms and service. No, thank you.
So many things. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we do have our own service. And as long as you're going through the content needs to be monetizing on SoundCloud, which is a weird internal thing that we say, but it basically needs to be going through some sort of distributor. But that doesn't mean it needs to be going through Universal. It can be going through Repost, or it can be going through BeatStars, or it can be, and as long as it passes our QA process and no one's trying to sneak, bad copyright stuff through to promote on SoundCloud, you're cool. And it's a great program. It's very affordable. And it definitely gives you a nice little leg up.
Well said. I had a number of other questions in here too, but I feel like we hit on all these just because everything was lumped up and we were kind of running with it.
I know.
And then we'll ask this. I'll ask the final one too. I think you hit on it a second ago, but I think this is a good one to end on. I want to ask, what are some of the things that artists tend to forget about when uploading their content?
Sure.
You talk about hashtags being like a major thing, obviously, for playlisting. What are some of the other things that, they forget to do when uploading their content, or they just, if they did more of this, they would put themselves in a better position, given your current, just like you were talking about your secret sauce? What are some of the things that they can do to better position?
Sure. So definitely make sure you are hashtagging it correctly with the genre or literally anything else. Don't get too crazy with the hashtags. Like, don't stick 100 on there, but like with the genre, with moods, with literally, if there's another artist featured on it, make sure you are tagging them. Make sure that artist is also reposting it to their profile. Like, make sure you are working your network also on SoundCloud, because that's honestly how you kind of game the algorithm. Is the more activity that is being seen on a track and the more associations that are being made, the more our algorithm is like, okay, there's something happening here. Also, there's a share button right there on SoundCloud, so make sure that you are sharing it. We have Instagram integrations, Facebook, the Twitter audio cards, like it's all there. And then it's also just what we were saying before, like, you can't set it and forget it. You got to remain engaged. If people are commenting on your track, you need to write back. If people are reposting your track, go in and thank them. We also do, going back to social for a minute, we have a Giphy store now that has a lot of fun Giphy stickers in there. So use that. We see that too. And tag us if you're posting on socials. You never know when you might get a repost or a Twitter comment. Our social team loves to scour things and write back to people. So it's all of those things combined, and it's and then let's say you do get playlisted, celebrate that success, or celebrate when you cross some, you started and you only had 100 plays, but then you have 1,000, then you have 10,000, then celebrate all of those successes, big and small.
I think that's really well said too. A lot of artists, this is because they don't work in the industry, they don't really know how to work a record. They're like, well, I put it out and it only got 100 plays. It's like,
It
okay,
ain't over.
right. It doesn't have to be. You know how many records that were released and didn't catch on for a year or 2 years or whatever the case is?
I always like to talk about my girl Lizzo.
Yeah.
Truth Hurts became popular like 2.5 years after it originally came out.
Yeah, it was so long after, such a slow burn, and that's just doing the work. That's the artist development stuff. That's figuring,
Yep.
hey, I really like this song. I have very limited resources. How can I continue to rework it? Repost it when you get to 100, 100 plays or 200 plays or 500 plays. Engage your fan base. Hey guys, help me get to 500. Hey, come up with some quirky
Exactly.
thing you can do to, gimmicky thing, right? Gimmick, it's called a gimmick because sometimes that shit works, and sometimes, as long as it's like on brand with you and like in the right vein, if it's about playing your shit and spreading it, like people are down to do that and engage with it.
Totally. Well, you can do fun things that are like, get me to 10,000 streams and I'll tell you what the song's about. And then you can drop audio content before it, right? Like there's, especially with SoundCloud, there's so much fun content pieces you can do like that are engaging with your fans. And whether you have 5 fans or you have 500 fans or 5,000 fans or 5 million fans, like it's how you can work it. And I also remember, like, you can upload that audio and then you can take it down or make it private for a little while. Like if you don't really want everyone knowing that your song is about your ex-girlfriend and like it got awkward, just take that commentary away. It's okay. Or it's private and you can send it around, or it's a special treat for your top fans or whatever, right? Like there's just, the options are pretty endless in what you can do with the tools that are provided.
A free ill marketing idea for anybody that you just made me think of, like, oh my god, imagine one of the biggest artists, imagine Lizzo, right? Just it's like, yo, follow me on SoundCloud and then you get access to my private, to my new
Oh yeah.
privately.
So it's funny because these are things that we tout all the time, because we have our API.
Yep.
But a lot of artists will use, sign up for my newsletter and you get access to this private link.
Yep.
Or we did this whole thing with, and this is big, but Trippy Red used our API for a video game. Yep. Like there's a lot of, there's that level, but then you can also just get really creative with the tools that are already available, and track reveals or audio commentary or Lord help us, tour announcements, things like that you can do. And again, going back and looking at the stats and seeing who did play it the most, and they can win a t-shirt. Like there's a lot of really cool, fun fan engagement things that you can do that I think not enough people are taking advantage of, and using SoundCloud, but also using different social networks, right? Because you bouncing back and forth is beneficial for everybody, and that's also how you gain more fans.
Right, and that's what those fans are doing, because not all the fans are going to be on SoundCloud, right? Maybe they have Spotify or Apple Music, but you can still engage with them and share your SoundCloud link and then help convert them, right? Or make it explain to them the value in being a member there as opposed to somewhere else. That definitely
totally.
Way.
Well, and that's the other big piece of advice. Make sure that your SoundCloud profile is fully filled out. All of your social networks, how to reach you, if you have a manager, if you have a booker, like depending on what level you are, but all of that information is in there. You should see it as your, digital business card of how people can reach out to you. Because also remember that SoundCloud's a place where a lot of collaboration happens between artists. There's a lot of artists that met on SoundCloud because they liked each other's music. Producers meeting artists, or songwriters, and of all genres, right? We're not just, I know we over-index in hip hop and electronic and people think we're just all like rappers and DJs, but one of my favorite things, and it comes up in like every interview he does, which I think is hilarious, Louis Capaldi met his manager on SoundCloud years ago.
Yeah, it's just,
and it still happens.
Yep.
And it's a it's a beautiful thing, as like cheesy as that sounds, but it's something that they really hold on to, and he's wildly successful now, and not not a rapper or a DJ.
Right.
But it's just so cool, and you just never know when that could happen. And I think it's a special thing that happens only on SoundCloud. Like, sure, people slide in Instagram DMs all the time, but like a song comes up and you're a producer or you're a manager or you're, whatever, and a song comes up maybe algorithmically on SoundCloud and in your upload or weekly or just in your continuous player on a station, and you're like, oh, I really like this song. Oh, like they don't they don't have a ton of plays. They must just be starting out. Oh, their email is right here. Or I can go follow them on Instagram right here. This is very easy for me to figure out more about them and contact them. Like, that's what you want. You want the barrier to entry to be as low as possible.
Yeah, I mean, well said. Yeah, I think you guys, you really do offer all of that, and I think it's just taken the industry to mature a little bit to the
Sure.
point that it's at now, where it's like, hey, understanding what's needed from kind of both sides, from the artist and the fan. And you guys have been just doing the artist stuff for so long. Now you're into the fan thing, and now artists are able to see why they should drive traffic there, how that can benefit them and their fans. And you guys are giving them the tools. It's like, we're not saying don't be everywhere else,
Right.
like, go ahead and do that, because just like you said, sharing your shit across socials only helps
Right.
us, and it helps you, and
Right.
that's how you build that community, because at the end of the day, that's what it comes back to, and like how you can actually do it and add value. A lot of artists don't think that way. They think, I make great music, I'm gonna put it out, and they love the music so much, they're so attached to it that they're just like, if you don't fuck with this, I don't fuck with you. And it's like,
Right. Which is okay.
yeah,
But it's
whoa,
not enough anymore. There's too much noise.
it,
There's
it,
way too much going on.
so you have to go deep with those fans. You have to build that relationship, and it will pay off. It's hard work. We're not saying this is easy, but it's simple.
Totally.
It's simple.
But
The idea is simple, but it's hard
right.
to execute.
But it's also the like long con, right? Like, this is, do overnight successes happen? Sure. Are they rare? Sure. Does it seem like overnight successes happen a lot, but really there's been years and years of work that went into it? Yeah. So like, like
just that.
like even
about
Olivia Rodrigo, yeah, but like Lizzo too. But like Olivia Rodrigo seems like she came out of nowhere, but she didn't really, right? Like to a lot of people, it's like, oh, this song, and like I never knew she existed, but like that's not what happened.
Right, exactly.
Right. So it's funny.
Yeah. And but again, that's why I like on this, this platform that I've created, it's really about level setting those things. It's like, guys, the one hit wonder, that's the exception, not the rule. The rule is doing the work and executing on stuff over a long period of time, really tiny things, uploading things the right way to SoundCloud. That shit matters. They're like, I don't want to fucking do it. I know you don't want to do it, but if you want to build a career and you want to be successful, this is that hard work that takes you there.
Exactly.
That gives you that this is the artist development. Now, instead of a label doing this 30, 40, 50 years ago, you get to do it yourself.
Like, right. Well, you do it yourself and then let us help you. Right. Exactly. And that's a lot of what our artist relations and artist development team does. Obviously, our label relations team does that when they're assigned to a label, but artists that are assigned to a label are still developing sometimes. Right. So, and then, you bring it to the music marketing and curation team, and we say, okay, we're gonna pour some gas on this fire, and then let it go. And then, but then again, that's not the end of it. Everyone still needs to work together. The artist still needs to hustle. Whoever is working with them still needs to hustle. Like, it's a group effort, right?
And it doesn't stop, guys. This is work at the end of the day. It's like, it continues, and then it is that rinse and repeat, and it's like, okay, go back to the drawing board. What I think artists should think about too is just that from project to project is where it can be different for you, because it's a different song.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's where it doesn't have to be mundane.
Well, and not to get into like another hour-long conversation, but like,
I was just thinking,
also,
we might have to chop this up into like 2 parts.
I know my kids are going to be home soon too, so but like, genre is so fluid these days, and artists I feel like you rarely have someone that is like I'm a hip hop artist. I'm an R&B artist. Like there's usually like 7 different qualifiers that come after that, right? Like I'm an indie R&B, alt, quasi whatever
Right.
artist, right? Like no one, genres are so fluid these days, and also, and not only artists but listeners, right? Like you rarely have people that are just like, I only listen to hip hop. It's not a thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So your projects can also vary, and I feel like we're listening to even more music nowadays where like your first single could be very very hip hop leaning and maybe like a little bit of pop, and then the next single is more pop leaning, but then there's like an R&B hook. Like it's so, and it's wonderful. I like personally I love it because I think it's really fun, and the mixing of genres is really really cool. um but like, and it allows the artistry to really, it allows me not to be pigeonholed as a listener or an artist.
Yep.
Right.
It's just wide open.
It's beautiful.
It's amazing. It's amazing. All right. Well, just like you said, we're coming down to, we're way over time. We're way over time. It's a good conversation. We hadn't seen each other in a minute, so I appreciate you taking some time to catch up. Before we get out of here, what are you working on? Where can people get at you? Kind of like a little plug section at the end here.
So I'm really excited about, we talked about FPR. I think it's really, really great. I'm looking forward to the future of that. We also have our first on SoundCloud 2021 class of 9 artists that we are promoting through the end of the year, and that is super exciting. The music's really great. They're also like, they run the gamut.
I was gonna say, how can I meant to ask you about that too? How can artists get into that, apply for that? Because I've seen you guys have some artists that are like really small, kind of on the come up too.
Yeah, it's really exciting. So right, some of them are signed, some of them are not signed. So if you tag your track SC first, it is eligible for the First on SoundCloud playlist, which houses these 9 artists. But then there's a whole smattering of tracks underneath. And yeah, it may just catch our eye and get added to that playlist. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. And then also, we're going to do it again for 2022. We've been doing it for years, but it's a little different this year. So I'm excited for that next round. And it's cool. Like one of the best things about this job, and I guess in previous jobs too, is seeing these artists go from nothing to something. Yeah. And just watching that come up and getting to know them, and there's that fun part of the I've been listening to whoever for years, and now you're just finding out who they are. Like I knew who Lizzo was. I do like to hang my hat on this. We did an activation with Lizzo, I think in 2016 or 2017. Like right before she broke with we got hers when I was doing all the ad partnership stuff. With Visible.
Oh wow. And
she performed on like a 6x6 stage at one of their events, and we were like, yeah, like she's really awesome. And then I think like 6 months later she like blew the fuck up, and we were like, you're welcome. Like you got her for cheap.
You're
welcome. But it's like, it's those sort of fun things. And like, there's one of the 2021 First on SoundCloud artists, Payday, who I didn't realize is like 16 or 17 or something, which is bananas to me. She is so awesome. I love her. And she's super fun. And like, I think she's really, really going places. So keep an eye on her.
That's awesome. Very cool. Very cool.
So that's what I'm stoked about.
Yeah, I mean, and kind of getting back into the office, getting back to normal. Are you excited about that? You ready to go back in?
I've gone in a couple times. Okay. It's weird, but good. And I'm excited to go back to normal, but I think we're gonna have a little bit of a new normal.
Yeah, there'll be some new processes to get in the door and get out and all that sort of stuff. And I imagine when it comes back, it'll be like half the people this week and then the other half this week, and then all that.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies are still figuring out what that's going to look like. And I think a lot of people have gotten used to working from home. It also depends on people's childcare situations and as well as their spouses, right? Like if you have somebody that works in a hospital as your spouse, like, might be difficult for you to go into an office every day. So
It's tough.
We shall see what happens.
We will. All right. Well, again, appreciate the time. Can't thank you enough. Glad to hear that you and the family are doing well and kind of made it through this pandemic. We're on the other side of it. Good things happening on the music front. And yeah, look forward to talking. I'm gonna keep you posted. I might chop this up into two because these are some good long combos. And hey, I'm just trying to chop this. I'm trying to keep the content wheelhouse moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. More content. There you go. See,
exactly.
You're good.
It's the cliffhanger too. Hey, come back for week 2. Week 2.
Amazing.
Well,
amazing.
Again, appreciate the time and look forward to getting up in person in the next year, hopefully.
For sure. Thanks, Murph. This was awesome.
All right, thanks. We'll talk soon.